Hi guys, and welcome back to Cooking with Cody. On today's episode, I'm going to be going over how to make an amazing guacamole that's sure to impress you and your guests. I've made this recipe a number of times and it's great as an appetizer by itself or as a complement for another dish such as tacos or nachos or any kind of Mexican or Latin style dish. I've had a number of people ask me for this recipe, so I'm sure you guys are going to love it. So if you're ready, let's get started. Okay guys, so the ingredients that we're going to need for our guacamole is 2 ripe avocados, a jalapeno, 1 tomato, 1 lime, some diced red onion, and then some cilantro, 1 bunch of cilantro. You're also going to need some kosher salt, and I like a little bit of garlic powder. You could also use fresh garlic, but if you're going to use fresh garlic, I'd recommend mincing it into a paste and then putting it in just so you can get that garlic associated throughout the entire dish. So let me get this stuff out of the way and we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to start with is my avocados. So how can you tell if an avocado is ripe is the first thing I think we should know. And typically what I will do is, first off, they start off as a very bright green, and as they ripen they'll turn darker brown. But to tell if they're ready to eat or not, just use your thumb and press in, and if it feels like soft butter on the inside, you know that it's ready to eat. If it's still really hard, it's not going to be ready to cut open. You're going to want to wait till that softens up, which typically takes maybe a day or two, maybe 3 days sitting on your counter when you first buy them from the store. So just feel them and see how soft they are, and once they get to be so they're not super soft, but to the point where you can take your thumb and easily press into it, that's how you know when it's going to be ready. So an avocado has a seed in the middle of it, guys. So what you're going to want to do is you just take your knife and cut into it until you hit that seed, and then what you're going to want to do is just run the blade of the knife or the avocado all the way around until you're able to split the avocado in half. Okay, so make an incision all the way around, twist it, and then it should pop right open like such. To get that seed out, an easy way to do this is to take your knife and just click it into the seed like that, and then again twist that avocado and the seed comes right out. Okay, to get the avocado seed off your knife, take your fingers like this and just don't press down, but just touch the seed, and then put your fingers on it and then push down, and that seed will pop right off. I'll show you guys into my scrap bowl here. So here it is. Take it, push it, pops down. You don't want to press down and then pull back up because you can risk cutting your fingers. So just take your fingers, press, and that will pop the seed right off. Okay. Now that we've got our flesh of our avocado, or actually I'll cut open the other one right away for you guys so you can see that other process. I take out the little stem that's right here. So take the stem out, put that in your scrap bowl. Take your knife, cut into it and go all the way around. Feel that seed in the middle. There's always a seed in the middle, guys, so don't worry about cutting through and hitting your hand. Twist it, pop it open. Take your knife, just give it a click to click into that seed. Okay, give that a twist. It pops right out. So long as your avocado is really soft, it'll pop right out. And then again with the 2 fingers, just take that here, press with your 2 fingers, and it'll pop right off. Okay. Now, to get your avocado out of the skin, I feel the easiest way is to take my knife, and I like to make little incisions in the avocado before I scoop it out with a spoon. This way when it comes out in nice little squares. So when I do this, I want to be careful not to cut through to my hand, but if these are soft avocados, it's really easy to just run that knife right through the flesh of the avocado, and you can feel it when it hits the skin on the other side. And then I'm not applying much pressure at all, just enough that I can go through the flesh of the avocado but not through the skin, and I can feel it when I get to the other side. But I don't want to be pressing super hard because then I could go through and cut my hand. I've never cut myself doing it this way, but I always make sure I'm using nice soft avocados too, because if they were hard, then there's a chance that you could push through and cut yourself. So I wouldn't recommend doing this if you're trying to cut them a little hard. Let your avocados ripen up. They're going to taste better. They're going to be easier to work with, and you have less chance of cutting yourself. So I'm just going to go through and keep making a checkerboard type pattern here. So again, I'm just taking my knife, I'm running it along the flesh of the meat, and I can feel the knife when it gets to that other side, and then I'm just cutting diagonally to make a checkerboard type pattern. Okay, once I've got that done, you just get yourself a spoon, okay, and then what you can do is just scoop the flesh right out into your bowl. So I've got a bowl right next to me here. Just kind of go right along the skin, and you can scoop the flesh right out and into your bowl. Just make sure you don't got any chunks of skin on there. I just take the spoon, clean that right out, and you're left with nothing but the skin. That can get thrown in your scrap bowl, and all the flesh goes in the bowl, which is where you want it. If you find any really dark spots or black spots, go ahead and just scoop around those, and then you can discard that. You want that nice green flesh without any of the skin, okay? If you guys aren't going to eat your avocados right away, what I recommend you do is just leave them out on your counter until they get to that nice consistency where it's soft, and then throw them in the fridge, and they'll last in the fridge for a good week or maybe more. But putting them in the fridge will stop the ripening process and slow that down considerably so that you can, they don't over ripen on you on the counter. I used to try to take them out of the fridge, or I'd first get them from the store and then I'd put them in the fridge and then take them out and try to ripen them up for when I wanted to use them. But that obviously didn't work as well because it's tough to kind of guess exactly when they'll be ripe enough. So when you buy them from the store, let them ripen up and then put them in the fridge until they're ready to use. So there it is. I've got my avocado in the bowl. Next, I'm going to go ahead and mash up my avocado. To do this, I usually just use a fork. You can use anything you want, but I find a fork works pretty well. So I'm just going to go around and mash this up until I get a nice creamy paste of the avocado. Okay, so now I got a nice paste of my avocado. I really don't mind a little bit of chunks of my avocado, but you can take this as far as you want it. If you want it completely smooth and creamy, just keep going. Otherwise, if you want a little bit of chunks, you can stop at any point that you feel it's ready to go. Okay, next I'm going to add my red onion. So I've already got some red onion that's minced up here. If you guys don't know how to mince red onion or don't know how to mince an onion, I have made a video on the 6 different ways to cut an onion where I go over how to dice an onion. I recommend you check that out. But otherwise, I'm just going to take my finely diced red onion and I'm going to put in about a quarter cup into this mix. Now, I don't usually measure the ratios because this is all the taste. So if you guys can add as much red onion as you want. If you want a little bit less because you don't like that much onion, add less. If you taste it and you feel like it needs a little bit more, go ahead and add a little bit more onion. But I'd say for me, I like about a quarter cup of onion in my mixture with the 2 avocados. Okay. Now after this, I'm going to go ahead and add my tomato. So to do my tomato, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and cut this in half. And then cut it in half again, so I quarter the tomato. And then what I like to do is remove the seeds of the tomato. And to do this, I just take my forefinger and my thumb here, I kind of press on the end, and I use the tip of the knife to run along the seeds and the flesh of the tomato, which then separates so that I just have the flesh, and then I am left with the seeds on the other side. I find that you don't have to take the seeds out of the tomato, but if you leave them in, the guacamole gets a little bit more watery. So I tend to like to take them out so I get chunks of just tomato when I'm throwing them into my guacamole. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those. So I just have my skins. So then I'm left with my seeds and the skin of my tomatoes. Now, for these, I'm just going to go ahead and julienne them, which means to cut them into strips, and then I'll flip them around and make dices out of them next so that I can add them to my guacamole. Okay, and then I've got my diced tomato. So I'm going to go ahead and add that into my dish. Okay, we got those in. Next, I'm going to add my jalapeno. So I've got 1 jalapeno here that I've already washed. To do this, I'm just going to cut off the stem. I cut the jalapeno in half. And then I cut it in half one more time to quarter the jalapeno. Now I like to remove the seeds of my jalapeno because and the core because I don't want all the heat in my dish. If you guys want it a little bit more spicy, feel free to leave the seeds in, but I prefer just to get more of the flavor of that jalapeno without having the seeds, which is where all the heat is coming from. The seeds and on the core of the pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and again, I'm just filleting out that middle piece so that I can remove those pieces that I don't want in the seeds. And then I'm only going to be adding a half of a jalapeno for this ratio. You guys can add as much as you want. If you want more heat, add more heat. But I prefer just to do a half, so I'll take just the two sides. Just rinsing out some of those seeds. Okay. And then what I like to do is cut these into really thin strips. I don't really want my guests to have a big bite of jalapeno when they're eating my guacamole. So I find if I cut it just really small, I get a little bit of bite of jalapeno kind of in every scoop of guacamole. And it's just enough to add that flavor, but it's not enough that it's gonna be overwhelming with the heat when someone bites into it. So I cut them into really thin strips. And then I'm gonna turn these and again, dice them again into just really small pieces so that you can almost barely tell that you're biting into one, but you get a little bit throughout the entire dish. Okay. All right, guys, and there they are, the jalapeno. So half a jalapeno going in. Okay. Throw them to the side. All right, next we need our cilantro. So to cut cilantro, I will grab it by the stem, and then I'm going to run my knife horizontally along so that I can cut off the leaves of the cilantro without getting a lot of the stem. So I kind of just run horizontally down and kind of cut downwards, and then I kind of pull with the stems so that I'm kind of dragging them back, and I'm just taking off the leaves of the plant and turning it as I go. So then what I'm left with is mostly just the stems. Those can go into my scrap bowl. Got a few more stems in here, I'll discard those. And then to cut up my cilantro, what I'm gonna do is just kind of push it into a pile, and then what I want to do is I want to roll it up into a little cigar. So kind of just grab all the cilantro together and start to roll it into this nice little tight ball. Okay. And then I'm going to dice that so that it is really thin and fine. So just cut that nice and fine. Because again, I don't want my guests to be biting into a big chunk of cilantro. I want everything to be in like little small pieces so they get a taste of everything when they're biting into this. Okay. Now you guys can make the sizes any size you want. It's really up to you. If you want to make them a little bit bigger and have it a little bit more chunkier, then go for it. If you want it to be a little bit more smooth, like kind of like I'm going, then chop it off like such. So I got about a quarter cup of cilantro that now is also going to be going into the dish. Okay. After we've got that in, we want to add 1 lime. So I'm going to cut it in half. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the end of the lime and I'm going to squeeze it so the juice runs through my fingers so I can catch any particulates or seeds that might be in there. So just squeeze your lime so that the juice runs through your fingers, catching any of the chunks or pulp. You're going to let that drain into your guacamole. Okay. And sometimes you get one of those really, really hard limes. If that's the case, another trick that you can use is you can use a fork to kind of press in and just kind of turn into the lime. And that's another way to get it to juice out. So to do that, you're just going to take your fork, press into it, and just kind of turn it, and while you're squeezing it at the same time. And that's a great way to really unlock all the juices of that lime and get everything to come out. So if they're really hard, give that technique a try, and I think you'll find it works really, really well. Okay. So we've got that in there. Now next, I'm just going to rinse my hands here. Okay, so we got our avocado, we got tomato, red onion, we've got half a jalapeno. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of salt, and the salt's going to bring out the flavor in the dish. So let's say about a pinch of salt. You don't want to overdo it on the salt here, guys, so be careful on that. Add a little bit, taste it, and then add a little bit more if it needs it. And then I prefer just a touch of garlic powder. Again, you could use a raw garlic for this if you wanted to, but if I use raw garlic, because that's such a strong taste, I would make sure that you mince it up really, really fine or turn it into a paste and then put it in so that it kind of spreads equally throughout the guacamole. I find just a slight sprinkle of garlic powder throughout is all it really needs, and it just gives it a little bit of that extra zip from the garlic. So, okay. Now we've got all of that in, we're going to go ahead and give this a mix. Doesn't that look great, guys? It's chunky, it's colorful. The smell that's coming off it is amazing. Absolutely love to make fresh guacamole at home. It really doesn't take very long at all, and it's so delicious. Okay. And now what do we do at the end? We taste it, right? You always want to be tasting your food to see what it needs. Does it need salt? Does it need more garlic, more onion? So make sure you guys give it a try. Yeah, and then to me, this is absolutely perfect. This is great, right? Just like the way it is. Yep. No, so I'm gonna call it good right there, and that's pretty much it. It's just those few ingredients. You mix it all up together. Everything is fresh and delicious. And there you have it. You got fresh made guacamole. All right, guys, so that's it for our homemade guacamole. Here it is, freshly made. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try. I know it's really good, but I can't wait to take a bite. Wow, guys. This has just got so much flavor. I mean, you taste the lime right away, the salt, a little bit of that garlic. It's creamy, it's fresh, it's delicious. You guys have got to try this at home. You've absolutely got to try it. Wow. All right, guys. So I really hope you guys enjoy this recipe and that this video today helps you with your cooking and improves your skills in the kitchen. If you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment down below if you have any suggestions, let's say, for the video. Also, if you want to help support the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified of all my future content. Thanks again for watching, and until next time.